This video is sponsored by C Media Cloud from Sony. The first 200 people to use the link and code in the video description will get a 3-month free pro account. More on them later. With the new Sony ZV-E1 camera out in the wild, you're probably wondering which Sony ZV camera is right for you. Well, in this video, I'm going to simply explain the entire Sony ZV camera line. I missed the ZV-E1. I had to return it the other day. At least I got these two. First, we should probably do a little quick overview of the entire Sony camera line, and this is just my opinion, but at the bottom end you have the Sony RX cameras, like the RX100 Mark VII, the RX0. To me, those are considered compact cameras that aren't as popular nowadays, and I honestly think that the Sony ZV line has replaced the RX line. That's not officially from Sony, that's just what I think. But the next tier up is the Sony ZV camera line. And this is where the hybrid cameras begin, cameras that can shoot videos and photos, and those hybrid cameras go all the way up to the full-frame Sony Alpha line. And I don't know if you know this, but ZV, that stands for Generation Z Vloggers. I know, Sony has a weird naming system. But the Sony ZV camera line is intended to be the more budget-friendly options if you're looking for a camera to vlog with, to stream with, and also a camera that you can just slip into your camera bag in addition to your other camera gear. Now the next tier up is the Sony Alpha line. There are two versions. You have the APS-C crop cameras like the Sony a6600, the a6400, and then you have the full-frame version of the Alpha line, cameras like the Sony A1, Sony a7R5, a7S III, and all the cameras in the Sony Alpha line are true hybrid cameras, meaning that they can shoot high-quality 4K videos, some 8K, and high-resolution photos, except for the a7S III. All the cameras in the Alpha line can use interchangeable lenses, meaning that you can use any E-mount lens, whether it's a Sony native lens, or a Sigma lens, or a Tamron lens. Any E-mount lens can be used with all of these cameras. Of course, the biggest difference between APS-C and full-frame is the sensor size, which kind of splits people, but that's subjective. But with the APS-C Sony cameras, they're a lot cheaper than the full-frame version, and so if you want to shoot both videos and photos equally, and you are on a budget, then consider the APS-C Sony Alpha line. But if you do have a little bit more of a budget and you want a pro camera body to do professional video and photography work, then yeah, absolutely consider the full-frame Sony Alpha line. And then finally, on the top end of the list, and I don't know if it should be on the top end of the list because it's a different type of camera, but it's the Sony Cinema line. Cameras like the FX3, FX6, FX9, the Venice. Those aren't really hybrid cameras. Well, the FX3 kind of is. The Sony Cinema camera line is meant for cinema, for actual video production. And so if you have a production company and you don't really want to use a hybrid camera, like you want something more for video, then yeah, the Sony Cinema line is probably the solution for you. And with all this talk of all the different Sony cameras, and believe me, I've had plenty of experience using different Sony cameras, especially when I'm collaborating with other creators. Like, sharing footage can be just absolutely crazy. But one of the best solutions when collaborating with other people is C Media Cloud from Sony. This thing is really cool because it simplifies your video production workflow. You can upload video clips to send to other people, which they can easily download, or even download the proxy version of those video clips. So cool. And if you work with clients like I do, you can send drafts to your clients, let them make notes, make whatever those changes are, send them the final video, and if they approve it, they can then download the high-resolution version of that video. And recently, I went to Yosemite with my friend Chris Brockhurst, where we got to film each other, but we kind of forgot to send each other video clips, and so with C Media Cloud, Chris was able to send a private request link for the videos that I shot of him. And when I got the link, I was able to upload those video clips to him, and vice versa. I was able to request video clips from Chris. It was so easy to use and such a great way to collaborate with another creator. They even have a mobile app so that you can stay productive on the go, and there's just so much more that C Media Cloud has to offer. And for the first 200 people to click my link and use my code down in the description below, you will get 3 months for free of the pro account. So if you want to check out C Media Cloud by Sony, then make sure to click the link down in the description below. So that was a quick overview of the entire Sony camera line. Hopefully that made sense. But now let's talk about the Sony ZV cameras. On the bottom of that list is the first ZV camera, and that is the Sony ZV-1. I love this camera. It's so good, so compact. It's so versatile. It's one of my favorite ZV cameras next to the ZV-E1. And I recently made a video with 5 reasons why people should get the Sony ZV-1 in 2023. So if you want to watch that, then click up over here. But the ZV-1 is such a fantastic all-around camera. In fact, it's a really great B camera. It's a great top-down camera to do my overhead shots, and it's kind of a cool all-in-one package. Oh, and the ZV-1 is the only camera in the ZV line to have an internal ND, which is weird because you figured the rest of the Sony ZV cameras should have all the features from the ZV-1, but they don't. I don't know why. But the next camera up from the ZV-1 is not really an upgrade from the ZV-1. A lot of people think it's a ZV-1 Mark II, but it's the ZV-1F, a completely different type of camera that has similar features from the ZV-1, except that it has a wider focal length. Now, a lot of people hated this camera when it came out. A lot. In fact, 95% of people hated the ZV-1F. I don't know why. I think it's a great camera. Honestly, I think it's a great streaming camera because of the wider focal length. Like, streamers can benefit a lot with using a camera like the ZV-1F because it's high quality 4K video, and you can stream with the camera by plugging a USB-C cable to your computer. No need for an HDMI cable, no need for a video capture card. It is a very, very simple mirrorless camera that you can stream with. And yeah, I don't know why people hated on the camera so much. I think probably because they thought the ZV-1F was meant to be a ZV-1 Mark II or a ZV-2. And when they found out that it wasn't, then people got upset. So yeah, I don't know. But I put the ZV-1 and the ZV-1F on the same tier. They're similar, but they're different. And honestly, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably go with the ZV-1. It's just such a good camera. Next up on the ZV line is the Sony ZV-E10, the first APS-C ZV camera that has interchangeable lens compatibility. I love this camera. This is great. I have it right here. Attached to it is the Sony 15G lens. Such a great pair. It's actually a great vlog camera, and I think it's a really great camera for people that want to be able to use interchangeable lenses, but also don't want to pay a high price. And the fact that you can use any E-mount lens, like you can use some really high quality G Master lenses with the ZV-E10 and come up with some pretty awesome stuff. And then finally, the next tier up is of course the flagship ZV camera, the Sony ZV-E1. Also has interchangeable lens compatibility, but now you can use full frame lenses, which is crazy to think that you can do that with a ZV camera. Now, if you want to see my full breakdown on the Sony ZV-E1, I made a review video, so check it out up over here. But that is Sony's flagship camera in the ZV line. All right, now let's talk about which Sony ZV camera is right for you. If you are looking for an all-in-one 4K camera that kind of does it all, maybe a small camera that you can slip into your camera bag or your pocket, then the ZV-1 is the camera to get. I've been using this camera for years. I mix it a lot with my more expensive Sony cameras, and it is just, it's so good. It's so good. And if you do have other Sony cameras like I do, then the ZV-1 is a great B camera, a camera that complements your other Sony cameras. Now, while this camera is great, it's definitely not the widest. And if you're looking for a compact size camera with a wider focal length, then the ZV-1F is probably the camera for you. If I'm real honest, I think the ZV-1 is a better camera. I think the ZV-1F is the best streaming camera. There's some pretty cool features with the ZV-1F, but if I'm honest, I think the ZV-1 is the better camera. I think the ZV-1F is a great mirrorless streaming camera. Like, it's so good for streaming. Like, the fact that you can capture high quality video while streaming and not having to use an HDMI cable, like that's pretty cool. And so I say, if you are a streamer looking for a high quality camera, then the ZV-1F is definitely the camera for you. Now, if you're someone looking for a very budget-friendly camera where you can swap out lenses, then the ZV-E10 is definitely it. There's a lot of great lenses out there. You don't have to get a Sony lens. Like the Sony 15G is a bit overpriced in my opinion. I think the Sigma 16mm contemporary lens is a great lens to use. So there's definitely great lenses out there that are more budget-friendly. But yeah, if you don't want to pay the high price of the higher-end APS-C camera bodies, then the ZV-E10 is a great choice. And finally, if you're looking for a next-gen 4K camera that has some of the features of the A7S III, the A7R5, but you don't want to pay the price of those cameras, then the Sony ZV-E1 is definitely going to be the camera for you. I love that camera. I've been using that camera for about a month, and it's great. It's fantastic. It's crazy that it's better than the Sony A7C, because the A7C is meant to be an entry-level full-frame camera, but the ZV-E1 is more than just an entry-level full-frame camera because it can shoot in low light, because of the AI processor and the AI features. Like, I mean, come on. Auto framing, like the camera will zoom in by itself. That's so cool. But if you are looking for that next-gen camera, a full-frame camera that has interchangeable lens compatibility, a camera that has the features from the ZV camera line, features like product showcase, background defocus, the ZV-E1 is definitely gonna be the camera for you. And if you're still confused as to which Sony ZV camera to get, then let me know in the comments below and I'll try to help you out. I probably won't. I'm too tired these days, and so I'll just maybe give you a thumbs up. No, I'll do good. I'll try to respond. But that is my explanation of the Sony ZV camera line. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know, I'm doing my best here. Sony's just putting out way too many cameras. I mean, that's a cool thing. More camera options for us, right? But yeah, that's a lot of cameras. Anyway, thanks for watching. I gotta go and do things. Bye.